My friends, welcome to my channel focusing FreeCAD. Today I want to take on this challenge from FreeCAD forum. This is a simple object and I plan to build it in both part and part design workbench. So I will save this image and fire up my FreeCAD. I have today FreeCAD 1.1 developers version, and it is the same as the stable release 1.0.1 version, except the external tool. So I will explain it when I use it. As I said, I will build this model in both part and part design, but I want to use that image that I just downloaded to help me in the process. So I'm gonna go ahead and drag and drop it in the FreeCAD area. And now I want to do some processing before I use this image in my sketching part. So double click on the image from the tree view, and first we can see that there are planes and it's by default an XY plane. That works for us because this figure that I want to use it's on XY plane from the top view. Transparency, I want to do it 50, and then now I want to calibrate this image. So I'll take this longest distance available and make it, so select the first point, second point, and now where there is field, apply 150 and hit enter. So now the image is calibrated. If you want to see if it is calibrated right, pick another distance and do another calibration between these two ends, and but don't apply a new. So there it is. It says 80.4.65. That's 85, so it's working. And now we want to move this image to the center of the origin. And where is the origin of this 3D space? If you want to see the origin, go to view and toggle axis cross. That will show the origin of the workspace, and we see that I want to put it on the same center as this image has. So let's move the image to the center. Looks like we are moving the origin, but actually we are moving the image, and a little bit downward maybe. Yeah, I will take that as an acceptable relocation. I must say I am happy about it. All right, that is, hit OK. Now we can take this axis cross out of our way. So hit AC on the keyboard, it will take it away. This part of image processing is same in part and part design, so that's common. Now I'll start with part workbench because I want everyone to understand how good the part design is. So let's go manual first. So part workbench, I want to do a sketch first, and I can go use this sketcher tool on the available on the toolbar right there. And I'll draw it on XY plane. All right, the work method that I'll be following is I'll build this in pieces and then put them together later. So I want to build this outer part first. What I want to do is I want to draw a, well, I was gonna draw a circle, but I think I'll draw an arc instead. So it would be a center actually from here to there. I want to draw that arc. And then I want to take this polyline. So polyline is a combination between line and arcs. I'll use that. Actually, I'll just go ahead with the line and arcs. So there. Now I can take the polyline and come here, hit M, M, M. There it is. That's my arc. Keep going. And M, 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 another arc. And come back to mate with this third arc. There should be some tangency. So hit T on the keyboard and then apply tangency between these two. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Oh, let's put these through holes in there while we are at it. All right, and that's the drawing part. Now let's do some dimensioning. The constraints, right? This circle is going to be at the center on this axis. So take these two and C on the keyboard. That puts it point on line constraint right there. Constraint coincident. And then I want to apply a dimension to this arc, which is radius 22. So select that arc and hit D on the keyboard, dimension, and say 22. The inside circle is 18 diameter. What I'm doing is I'm selecting the edge and hitting D on the keyboard. And this is going to be 60, right? This is going to be 18. So I can apply a 18 diameter right here, or I can select that and hit E on the keyboard. So equality, that's called geometric constraints. And I'll do the same for these two. So I am not applying another numeric constraint to it. I'm just making a relationship with the existing constraint. All right, so now you can see that there is an invisible line right there. Well, it's not invisible, but the line is there with a different color, and the angle between these two is 18. So we'll have to draw a line, but it's not, I don't want this line to show up on my final drawing. So what I will do, I will draw this line between these two centers and take that line and make it a construction geometry. So I can use that in my calculation, but we won't like see it on the final sketch. So take these two now and hit D on the keyboard. When the angle constraint comes up, make it an 18. We want to do the same between these two axis and the edge. So that is going to be 18 as well. Right, we have 4 degrees of freedom left. And let's see what, oh, there it is right there. And I want to select this point, only the point, and hit D on the keyboard, move it sideways, and it's 85. All right, and this is moving as well. So take this edge and this axis, vertical axis, hit D on the keyboard and apply a 110 degrees angle. I can see 150 there, so we will take this to center of the smaller holes and hit D on the keyboard. Move it somewhere so it gives you the length between these two. 150. If you had issue selecting this 150, this angle, it was giving you a horizontal or vertical constraint. You can select this KD right there, constraint distance, and that will give you this distance only. Okay, we have 1 degrees of freedom left, which is, oh, we haven't constrained this big circle. So this is going to be diameter 80, so radius 40. All right, that's our first sketch right there, and we can extrude that. So let's say this is sketch base, and we can extrude that for 20 millimeter upward. That is. All right, now let's make this easy part. We'll make a cylinder in the middle. That's going to be pretty easy. So I will draw another without selecting anything right here. I'll draw another sketch on XY plane, and this time it will be very easy. We could make a circle of 80 millimeter diameter, another circle of 40 millimeter diameter. There. So there is the sketch right there, and we can extrude that. So this is, I'm saying, sketch made cylinder, and extrude that up for, this is going to be 40 millimeter. Okay, now you can see that there is one extrude, another extrude, they are separate, and let's rename that. This is this base and this is the mid cylinder, and they are separate. Very important distinction, they are separate. Now we'll have to scoop some materials out of this base material, so we can draw a sketch and then make something that I can cut it out. We'll have to draw that sketch right on the surface. We can select this, draw the sketch on that plane face, and draw something right here. Let's see where it shows up. It shows up right on that surface, right? So that's the easiest way to do it. But there is this TNP, topological naming problem, in all CAD softwares. FreeCAD also has it. It is mitigated just a little bit. but it's there as well. So we don't want to attach this sketch directly onto the face. What I want to do instead is, without selecting anything, draw a sketch on XY plane and offset it so it comes up on top. That would be 20 millimeter offset right there. That's that is it right there. So in here, I want to pull in these reference lines so that will help us um, get this inside material shape kind of thing. Uh, so we will use this external geometry button. If you are using FreeCAD 1.0.1, the stable release, the geometry tool, the external geometry tool is different between this 1.1 and 1.0.1. In 1.1, if this button says we are at construction geometry, which is solid now, so all my external geometries will be solid. Keeping that in our mind, I'm going to hide this mid cylinder, right? And then hide this base as well. Under the base, bring the sketch back. Because it is available, I want to pull in these edges from the sketch, not from the 3D feature. Because I can, because the edge is there. So let's make it construction geometry. Pull in this edge, maybe this one too. Yeah, we will just bring this in, and maybe in this one as well. But now you can hide this sketch. So what I want to do, I want to draw actual drawing. So this is going to be something like this. I could use the polyline, but I guess I'll just keep using this arc. Here I did something wrong. I don't want this to put in on this axis. I want to keep it free moving. So there it is. Now this is going to be an arc. So let's do some filleting between here and there. And all of these connections will be tangential. If it looks tangential, always apply a tangential constraint in there. FreeCAD is very sensitive about this thing. It always wants a tangency if it looks tangent. I want to place these two the same center, and then the actual drawing says this is a 6 millimeter wall thickness. So if this was 22, this is going to be 16. Okay. And then these two is going to be equal. And this will be 66 because the previous one was 60. Right. These two edges is going to be parallel P. These two will be parallel. Okay, what do we have? We have 1 degrees of freedom left, which is, oh, where these go? Oh, there, hold on. Let's take a look at it. So there is an arc that comes up right here. We will have to make this one. The diameter is going to be 80. So, and now I want to do some filleting right there. These two fillets are going to be equal. Actually, take them, make them equal, and apply a 6 millimeter fillet. Beautiful. Now it's a fully constrained sketch with 6 millimeter inner thickness. I want to close it out. Let's see where it is. It is on top of that. Okay, and let's go ahead and extrude it for 10 millimeter, but I want to push it down. All right, I want to actually keep it like that, and there it is. So there is my newly created 3D. So this is going to be, let's say, scoop out or like cut out, whatever. And what I want to do is I want to keep this whole thing, but delete only this part from this whole base. So select the base first and select the scoop out second, and come over on the toolbar, come to here, it says Boolean cut, make a cut. So there it is. Now let's bring our mid cylinder back, and now it looks like our object right there. However, these two are separate components. They are different. They are not joined together. So what you'll have to do is you'll have to select these two. You can select them from the 3D sketch as well, and come over on the toolbar, say fusion or like union. And a fusion shows up. That's the whole body. That is our object. Very simple. So let's say final object in part workbench. Very simple. All right. Now let's move over to part design. I'm going to hide this. Let's move over to part design. And in here, I want to build the same procedure in part design. In part design, our first task is to create a body. In the model tree, it would be like, let's bring our image back. So in here, we'll have to create a body. Otherwise, part design doesn't work without a body. So create a body first from the toolbar or from the task. And you can see that on the tree, the body shows up, right? And under there is this origin which is hidden. So you can hide this image. You can see the origin is right there, right at the center of this image, because that's where we set our AC. So origin in part design is equivalent to this axis cross. So both of them are at the same point. So the point is, part design comes with a default origin that shows. Part doesn't show that origin, but it's the same origin. In here now, I want to draw the same thing that I did in part workbench. I want to draw the first sketch, and I want to make it easy on me. I'll just go grab that sketch right there. I'll copy that and come to body and paste it. Right. So now we can do that. We can copy and paste sketch. Now we can see, I want to bring your attention to this. Body is highlighted, it is bold. If you double click on it, you can see that the highlight goes, it becomes like a regular any other writings. It is called activating a container. So if you double click on the body in part design, it will activate it, or right click on it and you can see that it is active body. You cannot work in part design without activating the body. So when you create the body, it is by default activated. Now you can see that the sketch that we copied, it's actually outside the body. So we will have to put this sketch inside the body. So drag and drop it in there. Now you can see that sketch base 001, it is within the body. All right. So we have built our first sketch, right? And what I want to do is I want to select this sketch and extrude it, which is pad in part design. So pad it up for 10 millimeter upward. Okay. So this is actually it's going to be 20 millimeter, not 10. So 20 millimeter there. So now what it does is the pad is what we did our first base. Extrude is the pad in part design. And then what we want to do is we want to pull in that cylinder. All right, let's bring this one, copy that and bring it in. So because the body is activated in this tree, I can put it in the body. Let's see, there it is. That's the sketch being still at the bottom of the workspace. So now see what happens here. The sketch cylinder one, I can pad it up for 40 millimeter. Hit OK. Now you can see that we cannot, these two, the pad before this pad is hidden. You can see like one of them at a time, and it feels like this pad 001 is connected, because if you hide it, the whole thing goes away. So that's the big distinction between part and part design. Part, we had to manually put them together as a fusion, but in part design, anything within this body will be done, the cumulative adding and subtracting, it will be done by default. So if you want to keep anything separate in part design, create a new body. Otherwise, everything within the same body is actually by default added. All right, so we build this mid cylinder and we also put them together as a fusion in part design as by default. Now let's talk about this depression, this scooping out, right? So I want to pull in that sketch. So copy that. Now this is asking me if I want to copy the sketch base as well when I copy this sketch 002, because sketch 002 has some external references from sketch base. So maybe it's better I build it on my own from here, or I just don't want to do it. I want to keep it like that. Hit OK, paste it in here, and then move it in the body right there, and let's make it visible, and let's see. So the sketch shows up at the right correction. Now if you are going to create a new sketch on top of this face in part design, you can select it and create sketch. So use this sketcher button, and it will show, it will make the sketch right on that face, which we said we would not advise doing that. If you don't do that to avoid this TNP and create a new sketch altogether without selecting anything, it will ask you which sketch plane you want to build, and you can do this XY plane right in here and draw something. So this actually did not give us the offset to begin with, but we can still offset it. So select this sketch, come here on the attachment offset in the position, and in Z we can say this is 20. So that sketch shows up at the surface. So that's how you do sketch attachment, or like sketch offsetting rather, between part and part design. Part, you can go ahead, put this value to begin with in part design, and both part and part design you can update the attachment value later on. All right, delete that. We will be using this one. So we have that sketch right there. So in part, we build a pad and then made a Boolean cut. In part design, what we will do is we will select this sketch and come here and say hit pocket. So the pocket does two things together. It builds a pad and it subtracts it from the underlying, like the overlaps, by default. So now we want to say bring it down 10 millimeter and hit OK. So in part design, we didn't have to do the manual cut. It did it for us because we hit this red button. Anything on the red are subtractive. Anything on the not red, yellow side are additive. And that's it, my friend. The part design body is right there. So part, let me move this one a little bit on this side. So this is the one built with part, and this is the one built with part design. The same thing, different route. I want to show you one thing. So now we can select different features. We can select it from here, we can select it from there. Notice what happens when I select this part design object. I select it from the 3D view. It selects the pocket underneath the body. But we select this same edge on the part object, it selects the final object on the tree. So I want to bring your attention to this level of hierarchy. So part, if I select it, it selects the object, not underlying features or underlying bodies, because those are hidden. In part design, you select it, you select the underlying, the last feature, the tip of the object. This is very important. If you want to do any mix up between part and part design, the part design object, always select it from the array, because if you select this pocket and do some boolean operation, it will mess things up. So always select it the whole body and then do some stuff, like do some part workbench stuff. Part workbench though, the part object, it is there. It's, it doesn't matter where you are selecting from. It's selecting the first level object. The part design, select it from the tree and then mix it up. All right, I wanted to take on this challenge and at the same time wanted to shed some light on part and part design. Um, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts on this, and I will see you in one of my next videos.